Hey everyone. Hope everyone is staying safe during these tough times, especially those living in the great state of Minnesota. So today I'm going to be quickly going over the $700 that I injected into the stock market today. And rather than make a whole separate video doing a Q&A, I'm just going to start throwing these questions and answers at the end of my videos now. And in terms of how the C19 is doing, it looks like more and more states are loosening restrictions, businesses are opening up more, and it seems like people aren't necessarily flinching anymore to organize in large groups again. And at least where I live, the gyms are back to being open. Life is somewhat getting closer to returning to normal. We're still probably, pretty far away from going back to what is truly normal, but it's getting better and better every day, I feel like. And again, I really feel for all of these small businesses that are being affected by this, as well as all those that are directly impacted by C19. It's really tough situation, but we have to make the best out of it, and we have to come out of this stronger. So in the past 3 months now, the stock market, it really took some huge turns, but now it's only down about 13% at the time of me recording this from previous highs, and I still think that recovery is a little bit too quick. Every week though, I've been adding money to my portfolio since we've had this epidemic. I've been adding a bit more aggressively, close to $600 a week ever since the portfolio first took that little dive in. I had money saved up on the side for the next recession. I wish it didn't happen under these circumstances, but we do have to capitalize on opportunities whenever you see them in the markets. So the first stock that I'll be talking about today in terms of what I bought, that would be Nvidia. And part of the problem with the strategy that I deploy is that I try to buy stocks when they're on the dip, but the problem is that it sort of rewards the losers and it punishes the winners. So Nvidia is one of those stocks that have just been doing phenomenally here in the last 3 months. You can see it's up 27%. And they actually just announced their earnings report recently, and they reported higher than expected earnings, including an 80% year-over-year increase in their data centers. They power up the servers that are used by Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and other cloud service providers. Nvidia also purchased the data center networking company Mellanox for $6.9 billion. This should only enhance their data centers and give lower costs for its customers. Nvidia is also working on revolutionary technology with its artificial intelligence, AI. If you think about all the AI that's needed when we are searching for anything on Google, or we're on Amazon and they start recommending us stuff that we never thought we even needed until we saw it. And of course, they're also doing so much with autonomous driving, and I see huge potential in that. And of course, most of Nvidia's money still comes from its gaming segment, as in a lot of the behind the scenes technology that powers games and consoles, that's Nvidia with their graphics processing units, GPUs. With all of these revenue streams, I'm surprised that Nvidia only has a $218 billion market cap. I'll be buying more of them as time continues, and my position in them is only going to get bigger and bigger here. Maybe one day they'll even be as big as the next company that I bought, which is over $1 trillion, and that would be Microsoft. Now, certain YouTubers recently here have announced that they are hesitant to invest in Microsoft because they don't want to be affiliated with the man Billy Gates as a business partner. Okay, fair enough. I understand where people are coming from, and it just turns out that the person that can best determine how to invest your money ethically and morally is really just you, because everyone's opinion is going to be different. Billy's position in the $1 trillion company is just about 1% of all shares outstanding, which is huge in terms of value, but that's probably billions of dollars, but that's not enough money to be swaying decisions, really. And also, I'm going to guess that some not so nice people are invested in many of the companies that we own. And does that mean that we can't invest in these great companies and enjoy great returns while they continue to provide goods and services for the community? No, of course not. I mean, I'm not sure. Obviously, everyone's going to be different. But for me, Microsoft is one of those companies I'll continue to invest in. Of course, there could be another sin stock that you might think is a sin stock that I don't think is, or vice versa. So just do what's best for you here, and And I don't think I need to talk too much about Microsoft here. We all know it makes so much money on all the hardware and all the software products it has that they make for computers. My entire company uses Microsoft applications, and just had a meeting with over 40 people, and I was a little hesitant. I was thinking that it would lag with that many people, but somehow the meeting went just fine and there wasn't any issues even with that many people. Microsoft is one of the few big tech companies that carries the rest of the market gains. So any exposure here to Microsoft, I want to have that. And in these past 12 months, they've actually had a ridiculous $43 billion in free cash flow. So can't go wrong there with Microsoft. All right, so the next stock that I bought was the real estate investment company Store Capital. And while I may have bought some of the other stocks at near all-time highs, Store has been one that's been absolutely depleted here in the last 3 months. REITs have been hit really hard, but I really believe in Store because they have over 2,500 different properties with no one tenant making up more than 10% of their revenues. And sure, it's possible that Store might need to cut its dividend. It's nearly at 7%, and they've had many places such as theaters or childcare centers that are unable to pay rent because they can't even get their businesses open. But I only see this as a short-term problem, and in the long run, they should be able to recover. Also, Store has a really nice balance sheet compared to most of its real estate peers. And probably what's most impressive about this company is that it has enough liquidity to cover 2.5 years worth of their 2019 operating expenses and interest expenses. So I bought a few more shares of Store here when the share price was low and when nobody wants them, and I can definitely see plenty of upside here in my future. Plus, I also got to lower my average cost. I got it down to $25, was a little bit higher than that before. And then the last stock that I purchased this past week was Pepsi here at $132.01. So Pepsi is a great defensive consumer staples company, and I know that I will be getting a very reliable dividend that is not only going to be coming straight into my pockets, I can also expect it to be growing year after year. And we all know what Pepsi does. It sells different branded drinks and food products all over the world. There's always going to be money made here, and I can't wait to own Pepsi as it continues to grow with the economy, as well as my shares in Pepsi growing, and that means I'm going to be getting more and more dividends year after year, and Pepsi is soon enough going to be a dividend king as it continues to just raise its dividend. As you can see here, not much has changed really with Pepsi in the last 3 months. It's been virtually done absolutely nothing, but I'm just collecting it for this nice starting yield. And you guys can see here, I've been consistently getting these dividends from them all the way back since I first purchased them back in 2018. So altogether, guys, I had about $750 in new purchases. And that's going to add to my annual dividend income of an extra $12.17, which is a pretty low yield, but these companies will raise their dividend and also continue to grow in terms of share price and capitally appreciate. And that's going to be crazy just looking back every week, me just putting in more money into my portfolio and watching the compounding take its full effect. All right, now let's get into some Q&A. Question actually comes from Justin Taylor of The Money Mindset, and that's not to be confused with Malone Money Mindset. Okay, just kidding there. So his question goes a little bit like this. I think the world wants to know who the real Cody is. Curious, what do you do in your free time? What do you do for work? What are your hopes and dreams? So great question there, Justin, and I appreciate you always being a longtime viewer of this channel. And the truth is, Justin, I'm really not the most interesting man in the world. I know some people out here are the most interesting man in the world, but I'm not sure if I am one of them. I'm definitely more of a homebody, so this quarantine phase hasn't been too much different than my usual routine, and I like to spend a lot of time here on this YouTube community. I remember when I first started investing, this is all brand new. This is all brand new information that I never knew about before because I never learned any of this in school. And I remember I just used to spend hours here being so fascinated, learning so much. And of course, once you watch videos and get acquainted with all the different information out there, you don't grow as much, but you're still, every day is an opportunity to grow and learn something. And I watch a lot of videos of fellow YouTube creators, and we just try to help each other out and help each other grow and just keep up with the world. And I also like to keep up with the news and what's going on with the world, so that way I can make better investment choices for the companies that I'm adding to my portfolio. And to be honest, I probably need to take a step back from all the binge watching of videos that I do. I think there's only so many times, as I previously alluded to, that you can learn how great buying assets over liabilities is before you get bored of it. And I'm always going to be watching YouTube, but I do want to cut back on the amount of time that I spend doing that and just kind of focus that on other avenues. And I'm always trying to think of new video ideas. I spend a lot of time here working hard on writing these scripts, editing videos, researching companies, and I try to really put a lot of work into this channel. So if you guys do appreciate this content, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And I really do appreciate everybody that habitually watches and comments and interacts. I'm also a huge intellectual nerd, so I really love learning and just discussing, different religions, different political views, different political issues that are happening in our world. I also love learning about history. I think it's so fascinating to learn about how people in the past lived, and especially how they lived without the technology that we have today that we use literally every minute. I mean, I got my first cell phone when I was 13 years old, and it was a little flimsy flip phone, and I can't even remember what life was like before owning one. So I'm always curious to see, I have a lot of older viewers here, I'm sure, that lived their life, for a good portion of their life, without one. And I always love to learn more about that. And whenever I try to talk to somebody who's considerably older than me, I try to get some background on their life and see what was it like for them growing up, because I just feel like we can learn so much from just talking to one another and seeing and experiencing all the different life experiences that we all have. I also really, really like learning about geography, especially those who live in really remote parts of the world, such as islands. So I'm a big fan of real life lore, the infographic show, Wendover Productions. All these channels really seem to have what's basically my interest in mind when they make their videos. And I actually, just this past week, I was watching a documentary about those who live in the Sahara Desert, which is just a gigantic portion of North Africa, and how hard it is for those people that live there to get water in a desert. And water is a basic essential need that we all need to survive. And us over here on wherever we're watching this, we probably can just flip on a tap and get unlimited amounts of water that we need, clean, and we can drink from it. And it's just crazy how different your life is depending on where you live. I also really enjoy working out. I find not only is this good for your physical health, but it's also great for your mental health as well. So that's why this quarantine, it was so tough on me, because I use going to the gym for my mental health, and doing exercises at home, that just wasn't cutting it. So my gym has been open for about 3 weeks now, and I'm really excited about that. And I just feel so much better, both mentally and physically, ever since it reopened. And my heart goes out to all of you that are in the same boat as me, that feel that the gym was their escape and now they can't go to it. It's just a really tough situation. So Justin, I really hope that gives you a better impression of what kind of person I am outside of YouTube. In terms of my job, we will just let Kevin answer that, since he seems to know me better than I know myself sometimes. Kevin knows what stocks are in my portfolio that I haven't shared with you guys. And Kevin also knows that I work as an accountant, more specifically in private accounting. And one thing that I was pretty surprised about here in the community is that I was kind of going into it expecting that more people would have a finance or accounting or some sort of business background. And I've really found that isn't really the case here, and that I'm probably more in a minority there. But I think that's just really great, actually, because you don't need a piece of paper to learn about something or to be able to talk about it. And it's great to see other people's professions, because if you're going to work all the time, you're probably just going in with people that work the same job as you, and you're not able to learn about different careers. Just another great part of being on this YouTube community here with you guys. And certainly in the future, if people are interested, I can make videos on what being an accountant is like. I know that's something that I was definitely curious about when I was in college, was to see what I was learning in classes and in books. Is that really what it's like to actually be doing the job in real life? So if that's something you want to see, make sure to let me know. In terms of goals of mine, I think my next big goal is to be able to own real estate. And this is a kind of a crazy statistic, but I have actually not lived in the same place for more than 12 months. Now, it's going to be 7 years in a row, and that can kind of just take a toll on a person to constantly be moving and having to deal with different landlords and different apartments and different communities like that. I just want a place to call my own and, paint the walls the way I want it. I can have the kitchen looking the way that it should in my eyes, and how the bathroom should be, and basically everything that you don't have any power in when you are just a tenant. Plus, it's a great investment too in terms of building equity. Long term, though, I'm sure we all want to reach FIRE, which is financial independence, and retiring early. So right now, my goal is to have that option to retire from full-time work by the time that I'm 40 years old, which is still quite a way to go. And I actually have this story to share actually at my work. I had a much older coworker who abruptly announced on a very recent particular day that would be his last day of working there. And I initially felt really bad because I assumed that he was being let go because of this whole C-19 situation. Companies are just laying off people left and right. And then I learned that he had actually voluntarily quit because he had no longer wanted to come into work at his age and risk getting C-19. He had actually invested his money right all of his life, and he was also actually in the military for 20 years, so he got some sort of monthly stipend. He and his wife were going to be just fine, and they'll be reaching the age that they can get Social Security soon enough. But I just thought it was just totally admirable that he got to go out on his own terms, and his life didn't depend on him going to work just to earn money to survive. And that's exactly what I want to be able to do by the time I reach 40 in my eyes. So that's just a little anecdotal story that I was sharing about one of my coworkers, that I would really like to be in that position if I continue to work hard and continue to make these weekly deposits or find other great ways to invest my money. All right, so I'll try to make the next question a little bit quicker. So Mick Shibby asks, what are my hobbies? What are my favorite sports or favorite video games? And I think I already covered that first part in that last answer. So in terms of sports, I'm not actually the biggest fan of playing sports. I'm not a very coordinated person. It was always very hard for me to dribble a basketball, but at the same time also be looking straight and finding a person to pass the ball to or shoot the ball. But I do love watching sports. I love watching the NFL. I love watching the NBA. And I'm also a big fan of auto racing. That later one usually surprises a lot of people because I'm definitely not the usual demographic they imagine stereotypically for race fans to be. It's definitely not a sport for everyone, but I was glad that I gave it a chance when I was young, and it's definitely one of my favorite parts of the week is to be able to watch races, and also to be able to go to them in person is also pretty cool. I'll also probably making a future video on what I think about sports leagues resuming. I used to be a big fan of the Xbox 360 and Modern Warfare 2 like 10 years ago now. I remember I used to play it like every day when I got home from junior high or high school, but I haven't really touched it since, and I've been looking to get back into gaming. It's definitely something that I do want to try again. I just haven't really had that big of an interest, but maybe with this PS5 coming out or whatever the new Microsoft Xbox is, maybe I'll do it to support Microsoft, of course. And interestingly enough, people now consider professional gaming as an actual sport. So you can actually get like a college scholarship now for being a professional gamer, which is absolutely crazy. D1 gamer, baby. And the last question today is brought to you by Flaming Profits, or Jason, and he asked, what is your favorite food? And I am definitely a sweets kind of guy. I know some people don't like desserts, but I like, you need to stop me from eating desserts. I actually hate it at work when people bring in desserts, and I always feel obligated to eat them. I'm a big fan of like ice cream, cookies, all that junk food, all that food that isn't good for you. So that's what part of the reason why I think it's important to go to the gym to burn those calories so that I can eat all this junk food. In terms of probably more of an entree though, I think that my favorite food is deep dish pizza. In terms of the toppings, probably favorite is sausage, but really any topping with pizza is pretty good for the most part. Alright guys, that's going to be it for the video. If you guys have more questions, be sure to let me know in the comments or DM me on Instagram, or just let me know somehow and I'll try my best to answer it. It can be about anything too, really. It doesn't have to be finance or investing related. As always, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I really appreciate it, and I will catch you guys next time.